Welcome back to another episode of the Digital Wrap Up. My name is Riley and I'm the host, and I am lucky to be joined again by Kaylee. We are here to talk all things design trends today. We're going to take a look back at some graphic design trends from 2023 and then what Kaylee thinks the predictions will be for 2024 on different trends that we'll see in the graphic design world. And then she also does a kind of look back over the decades of some different trends, whether it's fashion or graphic design that she likes and some that she absolutely hates and hopes we never see again. So, welcome to the show.
Hey,
3 weeks in a
thanks.
row. Thanks for joining me again. This one will probably be your favorite one, talking all things design today. So, before we get into it, I do want to mention that we will have some slides that we're going to show on throughout the podcast of different design trends. So it's a more visual episode. If you do want to watch on YouTube and see the trends that she's talking about, go to youtube.com/at Hard and Digital, and you'll probably enjoy this episode a little more if you do so. So again, that's youtube.com/at Hard and Digital, and you'll be able to see some of the trends that she's talking about, especially when we get into the decades and looking back at some of those. So I think we should just go ahead and jump into it. If you want to start, let's we've done a couple of look back, or not a couple, but we did a look back episode kind of from the business standpoint a couple weeks ago, but now we're going to look back specifically at graphic design trends for 2023. So um, I know you have at least one or two that you think should absolutely stay in
I have
2023.
a
And
lot, but I tried to
well,
narrow it down
all right,
for the sake of the podcast.
let's
Yes.
jump into the ones that you think should stay in 2023 and hopefully never see again.
Well, my first one, I don't know if it needs to never be seen again, but I think it needs to be like toned down a lot is everything being AI designed. I
Mhm.
know that was the big deal about photos, making yourself AI from the past, AI from the
Oh
future,
yeah.
AI
What would you
selfies
look
from
like as a
Christmas.
wizard or
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Everything was overkill. Even now I see it on my Facebook. It's like n I'm air quoting people, news articles with pictures of celebrities that the actual photo of them is perfectly fine, but now they're like
Mhm.
AI'd. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's a verb, but
sure.
we're using it now. They're very like overly done on everything. And the Photoshop trend of like backgrounds was super cool.
Yeah,
That I'm okay with. But the selfies and the people, because now it's starting to get like overdone.
yeah.
It's only been a year.
It's almost like Photoshop on crack. Like people used to
Yes.
be obsessed with nitpicking every single flaw or, you know, zit or pimple, like
Yeah.
all that stuff. But now it's like nobody can just take a regular selfie. They have to be AI generated
Yeah.
that they've turned into something that's clearly not just a regular selfie of them.
I understand it on Snapchat, like, for fun.
Yeah.
Sure, if you wanna do an AI filter to see what you looked like in the '70s, go for it. But people using it in the business world
Yeah.
or for advertising, I'm like, "This is not necessary.
Mhm.
We need to
I mean,
cut
AI
that
is
out."
definitely relevant, but it I mean, it doesn't need to be
I
used
think we went from,
for
like,
this.
0 to 1,000
Yeah.
on that because it was new. So I get it. So I'm hoping it kinda dies off a little bit.
Yeah.
That one, and then everything last year trended towards, like, maximalism. Let's put everything we can think of, and I know
Mhm.
I've talked about it at least 100 times on here. Like, that's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, 2023, it was like, "Let's be extra."
Do you think that's only 2023? Because I feel like that's been around for a while, at
Well,
least,
it
like, on the
has, but
social media landscape.
it was very at least in designs, it was like everything needed to be huge, every little tiny space was filled,
Mhm.
and I am against that always, so I don't know if it was just 2023, but that was a big one that I saw that
Yeah.
people were just about it. I guess it's fine for a little while.
Yeah, I
That was
mean,
a good 1-year trend for me.
white space is always your friend, people.
But then I get like a couple years ago, everybody went super minimalist. So now we've gone too far the other way. There needs to be a happy medium of
Yeah.
correct amount.
Especially, I'll chime in on the social media side of things. I'm tired and annoyed of seeing just like literally the entire graphic filled with words.
Yes.
And it's like there's so much information in this graphic. It's not visually appealing. If you have that much information, put it in the caption.
Yes.
The picture is to capture people's attention because you have literally half a second to capture somebody's attention. If it's a graphic, yeah, if there's even if there's a person in the graphic, but the other 3/4 of the image is text, it's not visually appealing enough to catch people's
Yeah.
attention. So
That means to me that no one's listening to our podcast
Mhm.
because we've said this like 6 times and still
Yeah.
everyone's doing it. So we
Yeah, I mean
haven't gone viral on the fact that you shouldn't put so much crap on your graphics.
I do think there is a time and a place for graphics to have text on them in
Yeah.
certain scenarios, but there's ways of doing it that it's not information overload on the graphic still. Yes, you can put text on graphics if you need to, but does that mean you need to put 3 paragraphs worth of text on the graphic?
No.
No. So, and I still see that a lot.
If
And
it's just for aesthetic purposes to look cool, but the information is not relevant,
mhm,
go for it. Like if you
yeah,
just want there to be a ton of crap on a poster to look cool, okay. If you're trying to get a message across and no one can find the message, it's
yeah,
a little unnecessary. So
yeah,
I'm hoping we get away from that.
same. I think just using graphics on social media in general, it's something we try and not do. I mean, obviously, infographics are cool. Like when you have a picture or a video of people, like we always talk about people and getting real faces in social media posts. And then I see businesses have a picture of somebody real and then they feel like feel the need to put graphics around that person
Yeah.
and all this design, like design different design elements. You put squares and hectagon, like all this other stuff. It's like just post the picture, post the video. Like
Yeah. You don't need to put stuff
there's
on top of them and then
specific
text on top
examples
of
that I'm
that.
thinking about is there's a video of somebody giving an example and they put the video of the person into a graphic. So then the video of the person was
Is
maybe a
small.
fourth of the actual image of what people see in the social media post. And then there's all this extra crap around it. And it's like video is the king of content. Why are you screwing up the video by putting it into this
Right.
graphic and now you can't even see the person talking?
And all that information that they put around it could have just been in the caption
Yeah.
in the first place.
So
So
you're
yeah.
really taking everything away from the video itself and nobody's actually going to watch the video. And then at that point, why'd you waste your time creating a video?
Yeah. And
So
it's not for some reason I feel like it's a generational thing, but it's not.
no,
It's
it's
everybody thinks that you just need to put more crap on the page.
yeah, and I know like I'm thinking of two very specific examples. I'm not going to call them out in case they are listening, but one of them I know the people are younger
Yeah.
posting it, and one of them I know the people are older posting
Right.
it.
I
So
know
it's
some that
literally
yeah, both ways.
everybody.
I don't know who decided that that was the rule, but
Yeah.
I would like that to just stay.
Yeah. I
We can be done with that.
yeah. It's both people that I know personally too, and it's just like I've told them this,
Right. Like, please
and
listen to our
yeah,
podcast. We are trying to help you.
and big surprise, those posts don't do as well, and they don't get a lot of engagement, and it's just like, huh, wonder why. But oh well, I'll get off my soapbox if you want to continue.
Well, we can go to 2024 now.
Oh, you
Oh, I
didn't have
skipped
any?
one.
Yeah, you stuff that
Wow, we
lives
talked about
on.
that one for so long.
Yeah.
Good Lord, I'm struggling. It's definitely Friday. 2023 trends that I think can stay.
Mhm.
I put everything being bright. I'm here for that this year for some reason. I want it to be bright. I'm done with the muted, like we're trying to just not overwhelm people.
Yeah.
So for the colors, I'm good with bright. I'm good with abstract. That's making a comeback, I
Mhm.
believe. Um, the glow effects are one thing that I loved this year. I watched TikTok videos of people making drawings where it looks like it's glowing.
Hmm. Interesting.
It's like a neon. Well, they do it in graffiti a lot too. I watch a lot of graffiti
Oh.
videos, but it's like using different shades of the same color and then putting white on top, and it looks like it's like a neon light.
Mm.
So I think that's one that I saw a lot of in 2023, and maybe that's just because I like it. So
Yeah. That could
you
be.
watch one TikTok video and you get a million,
Yeah.
but
Happens.
I think that looks really cool. I don't know when it's really applicable, but it looks really cool as graffiti.
Yeah.
So
Fair
I'm
enough.
okay if that one stays.
So yeah, moving into 2024. I know you have it broken down by expert predictions, which I mean, you should consider yourself an expert, but
Yeah, but this is like when you Google it,
yeah.
these are the trends that people, whoever
Mhm.
out there in the universe has decided are going to be this year's trends. So these are the ones that I like is box grids are going to come back, which
Mm.
so not necessarily grids like on our wall, like square, 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 but
Yeah.
things being broken up on the page into different size rectangles
Oh.
with different items in each rectangle.
Yeah.
It's not like messy collage. It's very boxy, but the trend has been around forever. Like it's not a new concept, but I'm here for it as
Yeah.
long as there's like a solid color, one object. In the next box, it's a different color, different object. So I like that style. I'm hoping that one
And what would
actually.
you use that in? Like social media posts? Are you talking like magazines
You could
or
do it anywhere. I've seen it
posters?
posters a lot.
Yeah.
Um, you could do an album cover if people still make album covers like that. Like
Mm.
you could use it in a social media post if you wanted.
Podcast cover art.
Sure.
Yeah.
We could do it. You could do it however. It just is very clean. I like
Mhm.
perpendicular lines and I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm probably
Fair
going to
enough.
contradict myself a bunch, but I guess I have things I like and sometimes it applies and sometimes I hate it. So
Yeah.
these are all my opinions. I feel like I need to stress that so many times that by no means am I saying you cannot use the things I say you don't need to use.
Yeah.
But um
Besides
box
the
grids,
text on graphics, we're telling you
yes, we're
specifically,
telling you that that's not acceptable.
don't do that one.
Shockingly, this says graffiti text is going to make a comeback this year.
Oh.
So I must be like ahead of the game on that one because I was all about graffiti last year.
Yeah.
But graffiti fonts, I get it. Sometimes they're impossible to read. Like
Yeah.
as a headline, sure, you need to be picky and choosy though to make sure that anybody can read it.
Yeah.
Like just because I can read it doesn't mean you could read it. And a lot of times, even like real life graffiti on a train, I'm like, I have no idea what that says, but it looks cool.
Yeah. That's true.
So if it's there just for fun,
Yeah, I think on posters it's cool and different things like that, but a formal magazine
yeah.
or
If
like
you're gonna use it as a font, like you have to still be able to read it.
yeah. And it has to be very specific. Like it has to match the mood of the rest of
Yeah.
whatever you're using it on. And you can't just throw graffiti font into a magazine that has nothing
Yeah.
design style similar like that.
Yeah. The only people who can get away with that are like really edgy magazines. Like they could have a fashion magazine and put graffiti in, and the whole point of it is to be like completely out there.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping too that you know how like wall murals have become a thing.
Yeah.
Like in big cities, you'll go and they have
Mhm.
their murals that people come to take pictures at, and
Yeah.
they do huge side of buildings. I think graffiti is going to become more accepted
Mm.
as
Not
part of
just like
that, not just
formal
tagging. Yeah.
paintings. Yeah.
I don't think it's just gonna be, like, tagging. I think actual graffiti artists are
It's an
gonna be able to
art
do cool
form.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That would be fine with me.
There's a big wall. We're on the corner where we have a corner office in downtown Tipton, and there's a big exterior wall that leads down the alley that I've always thought would be really cool place to do something,
Yeah.
some type of mural. It's not our building. We rent the building or the office space of the building, so it's not like you could just go out there and do
Yeah.
it. But I think
It would be
somebody,
cool.
yeah, I think it would be a nice spot to do. I mean, so many people drive down it It's probably a person every couple of minutes at least
Yeah.
all day long. So,
I mean, they have them. There's one in Tipton, a kid graffiti. I mean, I guess it's graffiti. He did it with spray paint.
mhm.
This mural of an American flag. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and there's the stuff down the alley, Pete's King and Subway, whatever. I
Mhm.
think there's official name for that alley. Is it just
I
called
think
the
it's
alley?
called the alley.
Oh yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah,
But there's
even
there's paintings down there.
yeah, even in Tipton, this is making
Yeah.
a splash. So I think that's pretty cool. The one thing I am hoping doesn't gain traction is the pixel art becoming popular again. That was one of the 2024 predictions.
Mm.
I've seen
Why?
I just don't like the pixel art. I don't know. I saw even I'm going a little off track. But there was a guy who competed on Ink Master
Hmm.
the last season and like he had all this normal realism stuff in his tattoo and then there'd be like a pixelated heart or like
Interesting.
that's his style is to like mix real with the pixels and I'm just
It
maybe
seems like it just clashes way too
I
much.
which is the point for him but even
Yeah.
just a whole design of pixel art I don't like it.
Mm.
That's just my my opinion so once again this is not the be all
Per
end all
opinion
of
goes.
designs but I just don't like it.
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
don't like the font styles that look pixelated. I don't like illustrations that are
Especially
pixelated.
from like a business standpoint. I don't think it has a
Yeah.
place in the business world
It's
at
very
all.
even like video games, I still don't like it for that either.
Mm, interesting.
I don't know. That's just not one that I've ever been a fan of.
Yeah.
So I'm good if that one doesn't happen. The
Fair enough.
things I would like to see in 2024 is really heavy, bold typography.
Hmm.
Like if you're going to do a poster, for example,
Yeah.
pick like one really awesome, huge, bold font and go for it
Yeah.
for your main thing and then leave everything else out. Like I hope the thick, huge typography comes back. Lots of solid colors, which is one of those things with the whole box grid.
Yeah.
I like solid colors. I think the gradient thing happened a lot with the AI trend.
Yeah. That's true.
Everything was gradient. So I'm going to go back to hopefully
Yeah.
solid colors of everything. And then I also think mixing with the heavy typography, I would love to see like a whole year of fluorescent everything.
I mean, you did say you bright colors
I
too,
like the
like
bright
bright
colors.
fluorescent stuff.
Yeah. But like a full fluorescent orange poster with just black text on it.
Mm.
Like keep it simple. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be in your face. It's going to be really annoying.
Yep.
But we haven't had that for a while.
Yeah. I mean, like I don't see it anywhere locally, and I feel like it stands out. Not, I mean, I almost think too much for like business purposes, but I think depending on what your goal is, it
Yeah.
definitely
If you're
stands
trying
out.
to stand out, like right now, nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
So, especially like even in a magazine, if your ad is neon yellow
Yeah.
with just some black or white text on it, people are going to see it because, first
Yep.
of all, it's going to look obnoxious. But I guess that's what I'm all about this year. Like, let's make everything in your face.
Yeah. I kind of think like this year overall in terms of marketing is going to be more open to just experimenting and being more bold and not just, oh, we have to be so passive because we want to please everybody. But I
Right.
think if people are willing to take chances and try different things, try new trends on social media, be bold in whatever you're
Yeah.
creating graphic wise, stand out from people. I think people are tired of the just everyday same old stuff from every single brand.
Yeah.
So,
Everything has been the same for a while.
yep.
All the new trends aren't necessarily like breaking out of the mold. They're just new versions of the same stuff. So I
Yeah.
would like it to just go completely out there and
Yeah.
see what happens. Like it could be a disaster. Then everything could be fluorescent.
I
And
mean,
I'm
there's
going to hate that and everyone's going to be blind.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways of being bold and standing out that don't have to be fluorescent,
Yeah.
but I think just in general, being quote unquote bold, but in the stance of taking a chance on something that you don't see all the time.
Yeah. So hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's what I got for 2023 and 24.
Awesome. Well, a lot of interesting conversations. I think again, like just to reiterate that last point, it's about standing out, right? Especially from a small business standpoint. You, if you're wondering why you aren't growing or aren't getting enough attention on whatever you're doing, it's probably because you're just trying to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. So if
Yeah.
you're looking for ways to stand out more, be bold, try different things, try new things, and make an impact and make people notice you, not just
Yeah.
I'm doing it because this other small business that has 5,000 followers who's already well established, who doesn't necessarily need to attract new people, does this and it works for them. Well, yeah, it's because they're more established, but
Yeah.
you have to break the mold to stand out. So whether it's doing different video ideas on Instagram and TikTok or creating just crazy out there graphics and posters and social media ads, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Anybody could start a new trend.
Yeah. So,
Whether or not like it catches on, I don't know, but
yeah.
you could still start it.
So that's it for 2023, 2024.
Yes.
All right. So let's go ahead. And this is the part of the show that if you want to watch on YouTube, you'll probably get more benefit out of it. I'm going to pull up some slides here. All right. So I actually need to take off the logo for a second. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump into, we're going to go decades, right? From the 1960s to the 2010s.
Yes.
So we're going to start with the 60s. First slide up is the 60s in.
So I kind of did things that I called them in and out.
Yeah.
So in is stuff that I would be perfectly fine using these today.
Okay.
If these not necessarily even made a comeback, but just influences from these
Yeah.
design trends are ones that I like. So that would be the in. Out is stuff that I personally don't need to be using in design. I would love if nobody else used either. Like stuff I think should just stay.
Yeah.
It had its time and
Fair
we're
enough.
over it. So the 60s is the pop art phase, and I'm always going to be here for that.
Yeah.
Um,
I really
like
like the
we just
Coca-Cola
talked about,
picture.
things
Yeah.
being bold, things being simple. That was the whole point of pop art. I
Yeah.
didn't even pull the ones that are very like comic book style. Because that's a big part of it is having the dots and having the outlines on all the features and just being kind of huge. But
Yeah.
I like the colors.
Nice.
I like it being like you know what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's unique. It stands out. And that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
And
So,
at the time it was so like iconic.
yeah.
So I think a lot of people still pull from that today. I don't think it's ever going to go back to exactly the same style, but
No, it definitely has, an older vibe, but it's cool.
it's still a good concept of keeping it simple, getting to the point, having things repeat. Pop art was a lot of repetitive images in different colors.
I mean, that talk goes back to the grid type
Yeah.
stuff that you were talking about too. So,
Yeah.
huh,
So
surprising how they
it's
all
coming
overlap.
around. Yeah.
All right, so let's go to 60s out.
60s
Ugh,
out. Exactly.
makes me want to
60s
throw up.
psychedelic design was like the whole thing. And you can't read any of it.
Mm-mm.
That's another one of those things like kind of like graffiti text.
I'm leaning into my computer,
Like it looks cool if you don't need to read it.
or if you're on crazy drugs.
Like it, yeah, exactly. It's a whole vibe, I
Yeah.
guess. It's just impossible to get a message across, really. So for looks, it's great.
Yeah.
It's a style. I don't like it
But
because
it's all like very muted colors too. Like the muted yellow and green with red text.
Yeah.
It's just like
it's just
barf.
out there. And maybe when people were designing this stuff, they were in a different universe.
I mean, it does look like concert posters and things like that. That definitely.
Yeah,
I
but
could-
there's
I
a
could
way
see
to
it.
do that is readable.
Yeah.
So
True.
I don't understand why they did that and then expected people to understand. Because that even just any kind of 60s you can just Google it. 60s psychedelic art and it's just trippy.
Yeah. I mean, this goes back to the making stuff readable too. It's like I understand you want to be cool and make your, especially like concert release posters and things
Yeah.
like that with all the dates and upcoming shows and things like that. But like to a point, you have to read it,
Yeah.
or else nobody's gonna know what's going on.
Exactly. So in our industry, the, the psychedelic trend is just useless.
Yeah,
Even
hundred
as
percent.
if you used like the art that isn't necessarily text related, you couldn't even put that on anything because it's so overwhelming. That's what, like, when you first looked at it and were like, ew, gross. That's how
Yeah,
I feel. It's like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. I don't even know what to look at.
yeah, and I didn't actually look at these beforehand, so you're gonna get my actual reactions when I scroll to the next one.
So the 60s had really good and really bad.
Yeah. So let's move on to the 70s. 70s in.
70s in, I think everything in the 70s was just very bold
Yeah.
and everything was like warm colors. And I really like that.
Yeah,
It
the
was like hippie vibes.
definitely
Everything
hippie
is
vibes,
orange.
but the orange and blue and yellows that are the warm, cool
Yeah. And
colors,
it's like it's like simple but
but still like unique.
complicated at
Yeah.
the same time.
Like it's a
Like they
lot of
did it well.
lines. It's like a different types of lines.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a basic design concept in lines, but
With just lines and solid colors.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
So once
making
again,
them unique.
I like that. I like the bold lines.
Mhm.
I like that everything kind of had a purpose. And I just like I don't know, the colors are what work for me too.
Yeah.
I hate pastels. And even when these are kind of like
They're sort of ish
sort
pastels.
of, but they're warm.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look,
It's not the super
it still looks
light
bold to
and
me.
fluffy
Yeah.
pastels.
It
Yeah.
looks very bright. I don't know. Like for not being bright, it looks bright.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I like that style of the 70s. And then are you moving to out?
Yep.
I
Mm,
just hate the whole groovy,
puffy,
hippie, puffy typography.
puffy bubble letters. Yeah.
I hate it. I don't know.
I mean, like the one example of Funky House, it's almost like you back to the too hard to read.
Yes. And that's I didn't even get there are like examples out the wazoo out there on the internet. And the whole bubble letter thing tried to make a little comeback
Yeah.
here recently and I hate it then too. I just hate it in general.
That's
It's
fair.
just not my style. I don't know. It's hard to design around. Like, you
That's
can't
true. If
just
you,
use that type of font and then the rest of the design be normal.
yeah,
Like, you
that's
have to
very true.
fully commit to like hippie style. You
Mhm.
can't just
And then
use
it's
one
hard
element.
to use. Yeah.
It it doesn't go with anything else.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But
I don't
I think
like
that's
it.
why like at least two of these designs as the examples are like there's nothing else with it besides just the text because it's hard
That's
to put
all you can
anything
use.
else
Yeah.
with it. So
You have to go like super one way with that. And I
mhm.
don't know how to use that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. I don't know how to do it effectively. So
I mean, I don't think it really has a place in a lot of the stuff we do.
yeah, it's
So
very like era. It has to stay in that decade.
yeah.
Otherwise, it makes no sense.
Yeah. All right. So 80s in.
80s in is the mostly about fashion.
Yeah.
I loved the 80s fashion. I don't know. I think the design world wasn't
A lot of grid
exciting for
looks like.
me. Yeah. The 80s, it was all like denim everything, neon everything.
Mm.
Madonna was everything. um the design trends as far as graphic design, I wasn't excited about in the 80s. Like the 80s to me was like fashion, music, all the influences from that. It was more of a style, not necessarily like a good time for design trends.
Yeah, that's fair.
So 80s fashion can stay for me.
All right. 80s out.
80s out. Everything is very like geometric,
Yeah, it's just
like
a boatload of
Saved
shapes.
by the Bell style random shapes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
Colors are
similar example of the camera. The background is just different squares,
yep.
triangles, half circles,
It's completely random.
squiggly lines.
But it
Yeah.
was the whole style. Like that was the 80s.
Yeah.
And
What is this one on the right? It looks so familiar with the blue and yellow and pink. Kaylee's trying to see
I
the
don't
computer
know.
screen. It looks
It
very
looks
familiar. Like
everything just reminds me of Saved by the Bell. That's all I can think.
maybe that's
Like
what
it
it
looks like
is.
the little diner
Yeah.
reminds me of the diner in Saved by the Bell. So I don't know
Hmm.
if that's what it's from. I don't remember, but it just it's like patterns that serve no purpose besides to be
Just
colorful.
so random. Yeah. Fair enough.
So that's one like I don't know how to use that in a design.
Yeah.
So it can stay. We did kind of use a similar style when we were making Scott's website last year. Like it
Yeah, that's
had the
fair.
like flowy,
Flowy, but it wasn't just random shapes.
yeah.
I feel like that's more of like the 60s and that we talked about, just like the lines and shapes, but not just randomly
Yeah. But that like
thrown
was
in there.
like a reference for sure.
Yeah.
That was very throwback for me. I liked it in there. So um now we're on to 90s.
90s.
I have two 90s ends because I just like everything about the 90s apparently.
Okay.
So first one is did I do grunge first or rave posters?
Assuming grunge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just scrolled ahead to the next one. Yeah, grunge first.
It's very like angry. I still like it like it's not messy to me. Even though it's kind of like chaotic
Mm-hmm.
and dark and like there's a lot of stuff going on, but I still feel like you can tell.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's kind of like my
It
style
almost
in
just looks
general.
like not clip art, but like, oh, what are they called? When it's just like you throw a bunch of stuff onto
It's like
one
very
thing.
collagey.
Yeah, collage. That's the word.
Yeah. It was very like you mixed a lot of things that people didn't necessarily mix before
Mm-hmm.
and all the different textures and all the different
There's a bunch of
you
different
could use
fonts.
different types of like mixed media art. You could do paint with anything. I don't know. It's just like a whole it was like a movement. The fashion had like the fashion and the design all met
Yeah.
together in the 90s for grunge era. So I just like it in general. I like all the black.
Yeah, definitely very black and dark.
But they used it in advertising. Like
Yeah.
I think that's what's really cool to me is it got used in mainstream design. It wasn't just like a thought that some people did for art purposes. Like people use it for advertising.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm here for it. I
All
think
right.
that could stay forever.
All right. So moving on to the next one, 90s in.
90s rave posters were so cool to me. I just think poster design in general is like one of the coolest parts about art to me. So
Mm,
this is like to the acceptable psychedelic what I wish they would have done.
okay.
It's like if you took all those psychedelic posters
But made
and
them
made them
readable.
readable,
Yeah.
you get like 90s rave. And a lot of these were things that were like these raves were not supposed to be going on. It was like underground, illegal stuff. And they just made these really cool posters and just plastered them everywhere.
Yeah. I like it. I like the black and with the neon letters. That one's cool.
Crazy how I also like that in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I just like simple black in your face, readable information. So
Fair enough. All right. Moving on to the 2000s.
2000s, I feel like was all about iconic things.
Yeah. It feels very, at least from the examples, like minimalist.
Yes, everything was like to the point.
Mm-hmm. the person is just a black outline of a person or silhouette of a person holding an
Right.
iPod on
But
a
you knew
pink
exactly,
background.
yeah. You knew
Yeah,
exactly what they were advertising. The iPod advertising was fantastic.
it was. Yeah.
It
I
was
mean, Apple's very
so
minimalistic in
simple.
most of their
Yeah.
advertising,
They
even
were
today.
they were very precise. It was very clean.
Yeah.
Like, that was the two that and it might have been a lot of Apple influence. Like,
Oh, I'm
everything
sure
was
Apple was.
sleek.
That was when they were blowing up.
Yeah. So everyone was trying to be like that. And just that's when everyone kind of went away from 90s, which was extra,
Hmm.
to let's just keep it simple.
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite one so far. The minimalist and simple to the point.
Yeah. Everything that was created then was very like memorable, I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean the Barack Obama poster.
Yeah.
One of the. I mean, obviously, it's Barack Obama, but
But
it's
that
a very
design like
iconic.
took
Yeah,
over everything.
yeah,
Everybody had posters for that was one where you could like create your own face as an Obama poster.
yeah. If only we had AI back then.
Yeah. Been way faster. But
Yeah,
yeah, like everything was very I get iconic. I don't know any other word besides like
yeah. I mean, that
people
makes
know
sense.
what you are looking at when you see things from the early 2000s.
All right, 2000s out.
It's just pink.
Yeah, just pink
I
everything.
hate pink in general. And the 2000 it was like Legally Blonde came out in her freaking pink suit and Mean Girls came out and Paris Hilton was all pink everything and everything was pink.
Yeah. Hello Kitty.
I had a pink razor phone like everybody else and their brother at the time, but you could have
Probably everybody else and their sister, not brother,
okay,
but
good point. Sounds weirder though. But like everything was pink, fuzzy. I don't know. Even in fashion, everything's pink. In advertising, everything's pink. They had pink. I think one of those is like a bejeweled pink
iPod.
iPod.
Yeah. Eh,
That never needs to make a comeback. Mean
yeah.
Girls is coming out again, so I'm nervous that
This year everybody's gonna be
everybody's gonna
pink.
be wearing pink again.
Well, that and Barbie last year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm I'm not excited for it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Good for everyone else who loves pink.
All right. 2010s. Just weird. It sounds weird saying 2010s, but anyways, the ends for
The ends for
2010s.
I have yes, I did 2 ends. I must like the 2010s too. What I do first, rebrands,
Yes.
just a bunch of logos.
Yep.
2010s was like the era of people rebranding. Major, huge companies, and everything was like to simplify.
Yeah.
It was a good time for logos. Like long-standing brands that their very first one was super complicated. And like this was the time.
Yeah. Especially that Starbucks example. If you are watching on YouTube, what
You can see
started,
the
yeah, the
eras.
progression
Yeah.
of it. And yeah, just simple,
A
not
lot of
so
things like
cluttered and
Pepsi kind of did the same over the years. You can see there were more that I obviously didn't put on there, but it was like the decade of, hey, maybe we should redo this. There were a
yeah.
lot that didn't go well. Gap was like a huge, like, I don't even know the word for it. They only changed the Gap logo for like a week
Wow.
and then changed it. It was like an uproar.
Jeez.
People like,
I
this is
I don't think
so
I heard about
awful.
that one or
Well,
remember it.
I
But
don't buy Gap clothes, but it was an adventure for them. They were
mm,
like, okay, well, that didn't go well. Let's switch it back. But a lot of like, even like long standing fashion brands changing their logos, which was a big deal.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think it went well. And I
Making
think,
things more simple.
yeah,
I do
people,
like that part of it.
I like that trend. I think people should continue with that one.
I think it ties back to the earlier conversation about social graphics. Is just more simplified, just not overcrowded with stuff.
Right. And
The way to
now,
go.
like when people are making new logos, now that's what people are creating. So when yours is complicated, it's very
It
noticeably
stands
like
out in a bad
it looks
way.
old.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Very simple logos that aren't, you don't have to be super literal, and you don't have to
yeah,
have Starbucks coffee, tea, spice it. Like, you don't have to have Starbucks coffee and then another inner circle and then another inner circle.
right.
Like,
You don't have to have the whole description of your company in your logo.
yeah,
And you don't necessarily like a lot of them back in the day were hand drawn that somebody like scanned in.
yeah,
And then they're trying to use that still in the 2020s. So just simplifying, I think, could stay forever.
fair enough. Next one, also in.
Last one for, well, for the whole thing, but
You don't have a
2010s was
2010s out?
very like about nostalgia. No, I don't have an out.
Well,
There weren't there weren't a lot of like new ideas in the 2010s. It was so much about nostalgia. Like in advertising, they were bringing back like the little Mr. Peanut with the baby peanut.
oh, yeah.
Like they were bringing back things that people would recognize from their childhood and using it again.
Hmm,
Like
fair enough.
I was reading about Geico. You know, Geico has like some of the most iconic commercials
Mhm.
of all time. And they did a thing where they had people vote on their favorite Geico character and then started using them again.
Hmm.
So like
And the Polaroid and then the visor with, like, the hippie colors.
right.
I don't
Like
hippie might not
Forever
be the best word.
21 clothing brand did a partnership with Pepsi of like a
Old school
nostalgia vibe.
Pepsi, yeah.
Yeah. So there was a lot of brands too using like the Backstreet Boys in their commercials or things that people would relate to that had good memories. And especially, I think it was like a millennial generation that they were kind of targeting of like
Fair.
people who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. There's a lot of stuff that happened then that people have brought back.
And I feel like that was, when millennials were getting to their mid-20s, like, they were I feel like a lot of trends based around that, millennials got to their mid-20s or early to mid-20s, and so everything was trying to appeal back to,
The good times.
yeah, when they
Yeah.
were kids and stuff like that, so that makes sense of
Everything
why they did it.
was like not necessarily a throwback, but like a unlocking these core memories. Core memories was like a big
Yeah.
thing last year for some reason. Like things that you associate happiness with when you were younger,
Mhm.
you're going to buy that brand now because, oh, I remember those or
Yeah.
whatever. So it worked really well. I think for advertising in general, videos especially, like some of the Super Bowl ads
Yeah.
were very like bringing back people who maybe like kind of disappeared from the spotlight for a while. And now all of a sudden they're back and people are obsessed with whatever the brand is because they're buying it.
Yeah. I feel like they're still trying to do that today too, in a way, with a
The boy
bunch of
band
stuff.
thing the boy band's making a comeback was very like, that's probably like the 2020s. It's
Yeah.
just like been a whole boy band, new
Yeah.
era. But the nostalgia, I think, really works. But you have to wait so many years before can't like all of a sudden throw back to 2017. Like it hasn't been,
Yeah, I'd say at least 15 years
yeah.
at a minimum.
Like it does the same with fashion. It probably does the same with cars. I don't know. Like the bell bottoms came back.
Mm.
That was like a 70s trend, and now it's back. Acid wash denim is going to make a comeback soon. Like it's time for that.
Yeah.
It's every so many years, everything repeats just with
People
new
aren't original
technology.
anymore.
Yeah. The design trend, I think it's interesting because it's not like a necessary, like exact repeat because technology has changed, software has
Oh, that's
changed.
true. Yeah.
So you can do now some of the influences from the 70s, but
Make them cooler.
yeah.
Hmm. All right. So, switch back here. If you had to pick one decade, which one is your favorite?
Oh,
90s?
definitely the 90s.
Hmm. All right.
I don't, it has nothing to do with the fact that I was born in the 90s. I promise. Like is just I like the grunge style. I wanted to be Drew Barrymore like in the 90s for so long. It's just the dark.
I mean, I feel like
It's
that
like black, white, and a color
yeah, and I feel like that reflects your music and your music
in my
choices
music
too.
choices, in my clothing choices, in my just design in general. I really do like black and white with some texture. Even
Mhm,
my Christmas colors, like everything was like, I like white, white, white with texture,
mhm.
which is not black, but it's like simple. When it's chaotic, it has a purpose.
Yeah,
I really hate collages though. That's one thing.
which is weird because there was examples of like collage
Yes.
type
But those are
designs.
cool for like life. Those are not easy for me to design. I really don't know how to design collage as well.
Mm. I don't think anybody. I mean, I feel like it's just random, but that's my take on
But like have
collages.
you probably I don't know why I'm asking this. Have you seen 13 going on 30?
No.
Okay, well, she works for a magazine and she has to do like a mood board, vision board
Oh
to
yeah.
present what she wants the new style to be. And hers they both make collages. And it's one is very like happy cheerleadery yearbook style and the other one is like cigarettes and grunge. I'm like that is my style. This one looks cool, but I don't know. That stood out. It's probably because I do mags. I just really like the movie, but it was two very different styles, completely
Oh,
irrelevant to this, but they made collages in real life,
fun
in a
times.
real life movie.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, a lot of exciting
Fun
things.
facts.
Yeah. Fun facts about design.
Yeah, this wasn't necessarily like an educational one. This was just
No,
my
this
opinions
we
about.
have to bring Kaylee on to do fun podcasts so that she doesn't just come on and rant all the time. So,
Yeah, there were no rants.
I mean, we kind of did about the social media graphics, but that was more
Yeah,
so on
and
my
about the
part.
color pink. I will
Yeah.
rant about that.
But yeah, that was a fun one. And we'll see. Like I said, just try new things in 2024. I think that should be the goal for everybody and no
Yeah,
matter what you're doing. So, thanks Kaylee for joining me. Last one of January.
thank God.
I joked with her before we got on that might just bring her back next week
3 in a
just
row is a
because.
lot.
Yeah. But we are 3 for 3 on the podcast for 2024 if I get this published. I mean, we're
We're
recording it
doing
early.
great
Yeah.
job. We're like a week ahead of
Yeah.
recording, so
Previous recording and publishing schedule was, oh, I'm going to record at 8 o'clock in the morning and then turn around and edit and publish the same day by 11. And
yeah, and
it's
he'd
not
come
great.
into the office, be like, "So, do you wanna do a podcast today?" I'm like, "About what?" "Oh, I don't know." So,
Yeah.
we're trying
It
harder
was
this
not
year to
planned
plan.
well. Yeah. And, making some upgrades to the systems that we're doing and processes and everything. So hopefully, people enjoy it more, get more out of it. And if you ever have any ideas or topics that you want us to discuss, let us know.
Or
Send us
if
a
you want to
message.
come be on the
Or
podcast
if you
so
want to be
I
on the
don't have to.
podcast, yeah. I mean, especially if you're in Indiana and you're a business owner, local business owner, especially if you're listening from Tipton, like come into the pod or the office. We'd be happy to have you on the podcast. Sit down, we can talk about your business. You can use it as a free promo for your business.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how you're doing, what you do,
Yeah, teach us something.
successes,
Yeah,
failures, all that
explain
stuff. So,
how you do things.
yeah. So the invitation is there for anybody who wants to come onto the podcast and talk business and be happy to have you on. But before we wrap up, just want to mm, make a simple ask. If you do enjoy the podcast, if you like tuning in, no matter what platform you're listening on, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube, just hit the subscribe button so you get notified and our episodes populate into your favorite podcast listening app whenever we publish a new one each week. So please subscribe and share with your friends. And again, thanks for tuning in. And we will see you without Kaylee next week on the next episode of the Digital Wrap Up. Take care.